Welcome to the Spiritual Warrior Coach podcast. This is a sacred space where healing begins, intuition awakens, and your spirit remembers its power. I'm your host, Barbara Savin, author, energy healing specialist, hypnotherapist, and spiritual life coach. For over 35 years, I've guided thousands of souls to protect their energy, trust their intuition, and step into their most empowered self. I invite you to join me for heartfelt conversations, spiritual insights, and gentle practices that nurture your soul and inspire your daily life. And together, we'll explore how to rise above negativity, trust your inner wisdom, and embrace the truth of who you are, a divine, radiant being of love and strength. So take a breath, settle in, and know you are not alone on this journey. You are loved. You are supported, and you are more powerful than you've ever been told. So let's rise together and join me now as your host. So welcome to the Spiritual Warrior Coach podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Savin, and I'm so grateful that you're here today. And here on this show, we talk a lot about something I truly believe with my whole heart, that real healing happens when we care for the body, the mind, and the spirit together. Not just one piece, not just the symptoms, but the whole beautiful, complex, resilient human being. When we honor all three, our physical health, our emotional well-being, and our spiritual connection, we don't just survive. We begin to truly heal, to thrive, and to come back home to ourselves. And today, boy, I am so excited to have this conversation with Dr. Kelly McCann. She's a physician educator, healer, speaker, and true transformational change agent in the world of healing. And Dr. Kelly is a board certified in internal medicine and pediatrics, functional and integrative medicine, medical acupuncture, and is fellowship trained in environmental medicine. She's widely known for her work with mold illness, chronic infections, MCAs, and complex chronic conditions, especially when conventional medicine alone hasn't provided those answers. And what makes Dr. Kelly's work so powerful is the way she integrates science, nutrition, and spiritual psychology, helping people heal not just the symptoms, but the whole being. And she invites us to see illness not as an enemy, but as a messenger, an invitation to listen more deeply to the wisdom of our bodies. And she's also the creator of the Unforgetting Project, a mission devoted to reframing healing as a process of remembering who we truly are and restoring inner authority and self-trust. And through her work, and 3 global virtual summers, she has reached over 100,000 people. Oh boy, I'm so honored to have you here today. You have no idea. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome, Barbara. Thank you for having me. It
Oh,
certainly sounds like we're in alignment. So great.
I feel we are because I've always been in that medical field. So as a healer, hypnotherapist, intuitive, but I need to ask you, um, how did your journey first begin? Into medicine, and then what led you to look into alternative healing?
Thank you for asking. I didn't know I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up. I wasn't one of those kids that had a stethoscope, that I played with when I was little. I had no idea. I wanted to be a singer.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and and that's why I went to college. I went to Brown and I studied music and and then after I graduated, I was like, no, this isn't quite right. This isn't quite what I want to do. I tried, I got a master's in library science because my mom was a librarian. And I didn't know what to do with a bachelor's of arts in music. So I went to library school and that didn't quite feel right. But I thought, well, I kind of like the mind and the brain and how that works. And so I'll try neuroscience. But then I realized, oh, I'm going to have to go back for 3 years of undergrad just to go to grad school in neuroscience. I don't really want to do that. And so it turned out that the fastest way to do something else was to go to medical school because they had the least amount of science requirements that I could move forward. So I decided to go to medical school. But at the same time, I was juggling this idea of, well, maybe I'll go to acupuncture school. That feels more holistic, more calling of my heart. And my parents sat me down and said, okay, well, yeah, you can go to acupuncture school, but you have a lot more options if you go to medical school. You could probably get more money if like, she really thought it would be the best idea. And so I made a deal with myself that if I got into medical school, I'd go. And if I didn't, I'd be very happy and I would go to acupuncture school. I
Uh-huh.
got into 4 medical schools. And so I thought, okay, all right, thank you. I'll go to medical school. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, not because the work was hard, but because it was hard on my soul. It was hard on my lack of sleep and just the level of sacrifice, and it was not a pleasant experience. I don't think anybody comes out of medical school saying that was awesome. Love having no sleep. But yeah, it's a tough road to go, residency, et cetera, et cetera. And once I got into residency and I looked for a residency program that was going to allow me to explore a little bit more. I did, healing touch classes in medical school. I studied a couple of massage therapy classes, learned all about holistic medicine because that's what we called it back then. And then when I did my residency, again, I studied with a medical acupuncturist who was a medical doctor like myself now, who was utilizing acupuncture in his clinic. So I was learning all these alternative things. And then once I graduated, I just took off because I really needed to do this more holistically, as holistically as possible, because I already believed in the whole mind, body, spirit thing, um, and saw that we were interconnected. And it just kept unfolding from there.
Oh, wow. So it was a long journey then.
It was a long journey, yes. It was a
Wow,
long journey.
singing. That's a switch. But it happens to all of us. Yeah, we think we want to do something and then something completely, changes it for us. Um, wow. So let me ask you, what does it really mean to listen to the body's language, especially for someone dealing with, what you do, the chronic or complex illnesses?
What I find happens with people, the more sick they get, the less they trust their bodies. The less comfortable it is to actually keep their consciousness in the body, right? And so even though it's not like a car accident or mm, a large traumatic event on a daily basis, we're dissociating. Um, and so energetically, the consciousness is out here and it's not in the body.
Mhm.
We cannot heal our physical bodies when we're not present. Um, and so what needs to be relearned is that, number one, the body is not our enemy. So we have this idea that our minds are in charge. We think
Mhm.
I am my thoughts. I am, what I want to do. I am my will. Uh, and we think the body's along for the ride. And we get frustrated. I hear this all the time. My body doesn't let me do this. My body reacts to this. I don't want that. I don't want that. But my body is doing that. And so we have a real antagonistic relationship with our bodies, particularly when we're sick,
Mhm.
right? And the truth is, the body is speaking to us. in symptoms
Mhm.
because that's the only language that it has. And we are misinterpreting those symptoms as bad or wrong or against us, when in actuality, the body is trying to get our attention
Mhm.
to say, hey, how you're showing up on the planet, how you're navigating these relationships, how your coping mechanisms are not working, like things aren't working. And the body is your truth teller saying, time out, pay attention. And in many ways, the body's like a little kid. What does a little kid do when they're trying to get their parents' attention? Mommy, 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 daddy, daddy. They're like tugging at their uh, shirt or apron, whatever. And then if mom and dad are not paying attention, they start raising their voice. Hey, mommy, 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 pay attention. And then when it gets really bad, when we're not paying attention at all, they have a meltdown. They have a temper tantrum, right? The body does the same thing. It's really trying to get our attention. And we just keep suppressing it,
Mhm.
dismissing it, overriding it, pushing through everything that it's trying to tell us, which is why it feels like we're on a downward slide when we're getting sick, because we're not listening
Listen.
early enough to the messages that it's trying to send.
So do you feel then that people feel betrayed by their bodies when symptoms
Absolutely.
persist?
Absolutely. They feel absolutely betrayed. They do not trust their bodies at all. And so the first conversation is really about, like, hey, is it possible? Would you consider the possibility that your body is not actually against you? That perhaps it's on your side and it has been this entire time. And what you're perceiving as betrayal is actually, the mirror
Mhm.
that's trying to show you being a doormat isn't working for you. That is not who you're supposed to be on the planet. Being a people pleaser is not who you're supposed to be on the planet. You are supposed to be full and beautiful
Mhm.
and self-honoring and self-loving. That's what we're all here to do, right? And when we don't do that, when we don't show up that way, the body lets us know.
Yes, it does. So how can we actually begin rebuilding trust with the body instead of fighting it?
Good question. And this is where I think some of the big challenges are, because oftentimes it's the emotions of the experiences that we've had that are stuck because we've suppressed them, we've pushed them down, we've diminished them, but they're still there in the body. And not in the like the body keeps the score kind of way. That's not what I'm saying.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is actually the opposite of that. Because in the body keeps the score, the idea is that uh, your body is tallying the betrayals and the traumas against you in its tissues, and and you're kind of screwed, right?
Mhm.
What I'm saying is the exact opposite. Your body has emotions and feelings uh, of the experiences that you went through and you didn't express. And you need to express it in order to integrate it so that you can heal and be more whole, and then understand how that situation can be looked at differently. So honestly, what I do when I start working with people, and what we start with in the Unforgetting Project is like, what's a thought word and what's a feeling word? Because many times as adult, we don't know.
Mhm.
We say, I feel uh I feel wronged. Well, feeling wronged is not a feeling, that's a thought,
Mhm.
right? In fact, that's a judgment. So really starting to pay attention to our language. I feel sad. Now that is a feeling.
Mhm.
I feel afraid. I feel terror. right? I feel angry. Those are emotions. So learning what emotion words are is the first step.
Is the first step.
And then really identifying those emotions. I have people who can't cry. They don't know how to cry, right? They have suppressed long enough that it's really difficult for them to access those feelings because they've pushed them away and pushed them away and pushed them away and spent, too much time, not too much time. They spend a lot of time outside of their bodies, so they're not actually feeling what's going on. Same
Right.
thing with rage.
Mhm.
I was working with a couple of people. The young woman was saying, I'm so mad. Like, you do not sound mad. That doesn't sound mad. Let me show you what mad sounds like. I am so mad,
Yeah.
right? That's mad.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't do that. I can't raise my voice like that. Okay, well, we're gonna practice. So, so that's the next step. Uh, feel the feelings. And then starting to identify, well, where are those feelings in the body, right? When we're able to, and sometimes it happens where we identify the sensation first. So say, I'm feeling like constriction right here, right at the upper part of my chest. Okay, describe what that constriction feels like. I really want to try to help people land in the body. What does that feel like? Well, it feels like, ooh, it feels like razor blades are there preventing anything from coming up. Ooh, okay, that's a pretty big visual. Does it have a color? Like kind of explore it a little bit more. Um, and then what does the top feel like as opposed to underneath it? So you explore the sensations and then asking, well, what emotion is there underneath the sensation, right? So then we're exploring those emotions. And if the patient is willing or the person is willing to allow themselves to just hold in those sensations, hold in those emotions, 30 seconds, a minute, stuff can bubble up and some of that can be released. And underneath it are the understandings and the realizations. So we think that we have to like change our thought patterns. Um, I just need to have more will. I just need to like not eat as much and I will lose the weight that I want to lose. No, it doesn't work that way. The body is holding on to weight because it feels that that's safer, right?
Mhm.
It's trying to protect you. It's on your side. It's not trying to hold on to the weight because it's against you. There's more layers underneath that, and those layers can be explored and they can be healed through experiencing the emotions that are there. And often this leads to realizations about experiences with our parents or our siblings or our, family, grandparents, teachers, etc. First boyfriend or girlfriend, and how that impacted the body. And then after you have that experience of that emotion, you start to see, oh, okay, there is something under there. And what's under there is what I call the remembered self
Mhm.
or the authentic self or the soul or the spirit, the part of us that never that it has is always been there, the part that came in with us, the part that's divine, whatever you want to call it. And that part is speaking through the voice piece of the body to help us get into true alignment, like you were talking about: body, mind, emotions, spirit, all of them.
That is so true because, many in my 30s, I was diagnosed with uh, arthritis. And The doctor said to me I would be crippled like my mom, which of course did not go very well with me.
Right.
But I realized that, and as a healer, I realized that it wasn't just the physical. I had to forgive. I had to accept myself. I had to love myself. And once I realized all these other situations, and intuitively, I said, I can heal myself if
Mhm.
I only allow myself to let go of all that gunk, you could say, that I was holding on to all these years.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, once I began that healing journey, I was fine. I was healthy again. And plus I took his words and threw them to the ground because I said, no, those words just don't resonate with me. I'm not allowing them to grow in my brain. And it's like a little seed and then all of a sudden it begins to sprout. So yeah, I truly healed from rheumatoid arthritis. Because I needed to get back to God. I needed, as I mentioned, to forgiveness, acceptance. I knew I was enough. It was a journey. It was not easy,
No,
but
it's not
I did
easy.
it.
Yeah, it's not easy, and that's exactly the process, right? So what you did intuitively is what I'm teaching people how to do. Um, and um, and doing it from the position of, well, they're coming to me because they think their body is broken and they need my help and assistance as a medical doctor to do that. Great. I can get them so that they have more bandwidth, right? That they're not in pain, that they're not suffering, that they whatever from a physical world perspective. And that's really important with many of the patients who come to see me. Um, the mast cell activation, the MCAS that was in the bio. Thank you for pointing that out. I definitely have to write it out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what does that stand for? I had
Yeah,
no
it stands for
idea.
a very a complex hypersensitivity condition called mast cell activation syndrome, uh, which has only been written about since 2007, but it's often what's underlying like long haul COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, um, yeah, many hypersensitivity reactions. So, you know, um, now I forgot my darn it, I forgot my trajectory. But um yeah, what you did naturally can be taught and can be experienced. It just takes a little bit more practice.
Yeah, and a lot of patience and loving yourself for who you are. Your,
Right.
getting back to the soul, I want to say.
Yes. But here's been my experience is that you can't do it here.
No.
It's not a mental construct.
Hmm.
It's an experiential one. And that's why the identifying the emotions and where they are in the body and experiencing them allows for the release of the garbage, the misunderstandings, the misbeliefs that, got lodged in the body along with the emotions. And then you can actually experience that divine source that is
Fine.
inside, right? And we can call it whatever we want, God, etc. Um, but most people on the planet do believe that there's a difference between somebody who's alive and somebody who's dead, even if you don't have to believe in spiritual things, you just believe that there's more substantive to a human being than just the physical. um
Mhm.
so yeah, yeah. And I love you mentioned forgiveness, because forgiveness is absolutely a huge part of this.
Yes. Huge, huge. And I held on to anger for like years because my grandma died. My grandma, who was a healer, she passed away right before my high school graduation. And I had wanted so much more life with her. I had so many more questions because she actually taught me how to do healing, that I was so angry, and it was very challenging to forgive. And I hated her, I hated God, I hated me. I mean, this story goes on and on and on. But when you finally decide that you need to let go of all that emotional, you know, and mental uh,
Yeah,
overload is when we begin to heal.
right.
So,
Yeah.
do you think um, chronic stress, trauma, maybe even environmental overload can actually keep the nervous system stuck, in survival mode?
I do. Here's how I think about it, Barbara. Um, the the body, the nervous system, the human being comes in to the planet uh, as like a fully integrated human being.
Hmm.
Um, Meaning you look at a baby, they're just joy incarnate, they're love incarnate, right?
Hmm.
They have no reason to be upset. If they cry, it's because they need to have a dirty diaper and need it to be changed, or they're hungry. Like they are fully human beings. And the divine source is there in them. And then we, as human beings, experience life where we're told, hey, who you are isn't okay. How you do this isn't okay. In order to get love, you have to do this, that, and the other thing. And so our true nature, our what I call the remembered self, gets um, gets covered up with all this stuff, and we forget who we really are. And the process of getting sick is because we need to find ourselves again, right? And we can't do that any other way. In order to find ourselves, we have to get lost. Um, so so the who we really are, the remembered self, um, is constantly sending us messages through the body. Hey, pay attention to this, pay attention to this, stop being a doormat. Um, God, I'm sorry, I'm blabbering on and then I get lost in my own thoughts. Um, so here we are of all this stuff that we have taken on as ourselves. And then because of our beliefs, um, and because we've forgotten who we are more set up to be susceptible to the exposures of the environment,
Mhm.
right? And this is where functional medicine is so brilliant because they say, okay, you're you have been exposed to mold and that's contributing to your symptoms. Maybe you have Lyme disease and that's contributing to your symptoms, or you're sensitive to EMF, or there was trauma, there's a tremendous amount of stress. Those things are the root cause of the physical symptoms that are happening. But the root of the root cause is this spiritual separation from self and the disconnect of the mind, body, spirit continuum that is really allowing for these like physical world issues to come into play, right? So we can do great work in functional medicine. I can identify all these different things that might be wrong with somebody and then fix them, detox from that, help them, stabilize them. But if we don't ever get to the root of the root,
Mhm. The root
we're playing
cause.
whack-a-mole.
Oh yeah. I always say it's always the root cause.
Yes,
Yeah, you have to, when people come to see me, I always say that there has to be something that is making you do this. It's not just because it's here in the surface. It has to be something really deep.
exactly. Yes.
And and so so let me ask you then, once you get to that point where uh spiritually, I guess there are challenges, do they then look to heal themselves on all the other levels, or do they find it's too challenging?
No, I think, um, I mean, here's where I will share what happens in the clinic, with people right here on that couch. Um, is a little bit different than what's happening in the Unforgetting Project. So the people coming in to see me in the clinic are coming in to see me because I'm a medical doctor who does functional and integrative medicine. I have these specialties that I help people deal with. And oftentimes they don't have the bandwidth to have these deep spiritual conversations, right? That's not where they're at. They're in fight, flight, or freeze in their nervous systems. They are in an antagonistic relationship with their bodies because they don't understand what's happening. And they usually feel terrible. They have so many symptoms that having these conversations about spirit and saying, hey, this is where we're going to go, will be totally lost in them.
Hmm.
They're not ready for it, right? I have to help them feel better in their physical bodies. And along the way, I'm planting seeds as they start to feel physically better. Is it possible that maybe your body isn't against you?
Hmm.
Is it possible that your body could be speaking to you? So I'm asking these questions, I'm getting feedback, and I'm observing what their responses are. I mean, I had one woman in the clinic who was expressing how stressed she was. And I asked, I'm like, is it possible for you to consider that these events will happen? How you respond to them is under your control. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. These things are terrible. And I think, okay, not not ready for the Unforgetting Project.
No, not at all.
But if I didn't ask that question, I wouldn't really know where she's at, right? So it's very clear to me that there's no separation between stress and my response to it in that woman's consciousness. Okay, well, we'll move on, right? I will write your Xanax prescription, or we'll talk about the supplements, or maybe we can talk about it from the nervous system perspective. So we can teach you how to do vagus nerve exercises and try to get in that way, right? Um, yeah. But then there are many people who are like, oh, yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective. I never thought about it that way, right? And then there's more curiosity, and they're seeing improvements in their health, so they're trusting me more. And so when I say something that might be a little out of the realm of the box of their thinking, they're like, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it that way. And we start to make inroads. I remember I worked with a young woman for a year and a half. She was so sick, year and a half. And then there was something about that day, and I was like, oh, you're ready. And I gave her a book recommendation. There's a book by a colleague of mine named Amy B. Scher. You might know her work. She wrote a book called How to Heal Yourself When No One Else Can.
Hmm.
Wonderful book. She had Lyme disease, went to all the best specialists all over the country, eventually went to India and got stem cells, got better, came back to the United States. Actually, the woman in India said, well, you haven't worked through some of your stuff. And she was like, I'm better. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
She came back to the United States, went back and started living her life the same exact way she was living it before, and started getting sick again. And she thought, that woman is right.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know what that means. I got to figure out what that means. And so she healed herself. And I shared this book with my patient, and she was so diligent. She learned the exercises. She went through all of her past journals and journals and journals and journals and clearing and clearing. And now she's a medical intuitive.
Wow.
And she is light and joy and love. And she just totally transformed.
Yeah, she wasn't resistant.
She wasn't resistant, but
Mhm.
had I tried to have that conversation, 18 months earlier,
Oh yeah, what happened?
it never would have happened, right?
Mhm.
So there really is beauty in the timing of being able to have these conversations and know when people are ready and when they're not. As opposed to, somebody who comes to see you, they know what they're coming for, right?
Sometimes, sometimes I
Sometimes.
have to, just, do like that to them or not be as kind, and be a little bit aggressive so that they know, all right, I need to change something in order for something to change.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Um,
want quick fixes.
well, yes. Yes. And then I think one of my favorite phrases is, we learn best through adversity. Guess what? You signed up for a PhD in adversity so that you could get to the other side, right? I mean, how amazing is this? Uh, I think we can reframe everything in such a positive light and find beauty and power and empowerment in our struggles. Uh, gosh, isn't that fantastic? Like, not only are you not a victim,
Mhm.
you are the architect, director, creator of your life. And you get to choose what that looks like, and how you want to hold all the experiences that you have with your life and what you want to do about it.
So do you feel then people that come to see you, most of them begin to heal, after their mold illness or COVID or whatever else came at them. And then they made the choice, all right, I need to really figure this out on a different level.
Yeah, if they're open to that. The people who really heal do this work. The people who stay in the physical body, who aren't really willing to accept the possibility that their soul and their spirit is involved in this process, they improve, but
Mhm.
they're never fully healed.
No.
Not really. Not to the extent that they could be. And for some that's okay. That, like,
Mhm.
it's not easy work, right? It's not easy to look at the things that we're ashamed about, the things that we're guilty for, the things that we hate ourselves for. That's hard stuff. But
Very hard
if
stuff.
if we want
Mhm.
freedom, that's where we got to go. I don't know.
No,
But
it's
that's not where we start, right? You can't start there.
no, no, because most people aren't ready for that. I'm sure they come to you looking for help, for you to help them with whatever illness that they're experiencing.
Right. The other thing that I will say is, I just started my first cohort of the Unforgetting Project foundational program. It's a 9-week educational and experiential program. And within the first 2 weeks, there are 30, let's say 35 some odd people in the class. It's a Zoom class. By the second week, you could feel the love in the room. The love in the room was so palpable. We've done 4 weeks now. Oh my gosh. We have a
Mhm.
WhatsApp group. We have the class. It's so powerful that the love in that group for each other, just because, you know, we're human beings having a spiritual experience. And that's really the medicine. It's love. It's self-love. It's love. It's unconditional love for others. Um, that's really where it's at. I mean, that's why we do this
How
work,
we do
right?
it. Mhm. Sometimes I have clients that come to see me and they say, "Oh, please don't judge me." And I said, I don't judge anyone because if I did, I shouldn't be doing this work.
Right.
It's like, hello, but I guess because they have been judged in the past, they feel, oh, well, maybe she'll judge me. But no, we have to let go of if all that judgment and expectations
Yeah.
and like what you said, loving ourselves. I know it took me the longest time to look in the mirror and say, Barbara, I love you.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And you didn't start there, or if you did start there, it didn't feel authentic, right?
No, my grandma used to make me start there, and I would look and say, "Oh God, no, I don't love you." But I did it because she said you should do it. But
Right.
it took a long time. Again, forgiving and accepting and knowing I'm enough to actually say, Barbara, I do love you,
Right.
and that's when the healing actually began.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the reflection to the people who say, don't judge me. Well, I hear that you are judging yourself,
Mhm.
right? Maybe we need to go there.
Yes, and I did, and it was so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the truth does come out eventually, if they wanted to. But so let me ask you another. So someone listening that feels maybe overwhelmed or disconnected or stuck, you could say in the healing right now, what is the most important thing um, that you want them to actually remember about their body?
Yes, your body is always on your side and has always been on your side.
Mhm,
It there is no real separation between our thoughts, our body, and our spirit.
mhm,
Um, the way that Western culture has unfolded has reinforced this philosophy that the mind is over here, the body is over here, and the spirit is over here, and the mind is supreme. And that's not accurate. It's not accurate. Every single cell in your body is imbued with life force energy. Every single cell has little powerhouses of mitochondria that are making energy. Um, and that is all life force energy, right? And so it's all intertwined. That is the most important thing to understand. So when something shows up, perhaps rather than run away, suppress it, mm, just approach it with curiosity. Like,
mhm.
hmm, what is this? And do your best to stay in non-judgment. Like, rather than say, I have a pain right here, say, I have a sensation here. And then what does that sensation really feel like? Describe it, kind of like I started, right? So you start with curiosity and with the possibility that your body is not against you.
I always like if I feel something in me, I always say, what is it that you I'm not seeing or that you need to show me?
Yeah.
Because
Ask
it
it more questions,
it's
right?
good a question, and usually I get the answer. So, but
Yes.
I've been doing this a very long time. So,
Yeah. It takes practice. It takes practice. So the first part is to recognize that it's not against you.
mhm,
um, or consider the possibility, right? If you're like, well, I'm not sure, it always has felt like it's against me. So, okay, just consider the possibility. I don't have to convince you, the body doesn't have to convince you. Just like hold hold your viewpoint a little bit differently and then approach it with some curiosity. I would start there.
do you feel then why? I mean, some people suffer tremendously and others don't. Do you feel then those that don't are more in this that they understand themselves or spiritually do better?
Not necessarily. No, I think we all have our path, right? So here's where I do go into, beliefs. Like, um, I think that some people learn their lessons on the physical world reality plane with physical symptoms. maybe they chose it that way. I don't know, but they're learning their lessons that way. Other people might be learning their lessons on a different in a different way.
Mhm.
Maybe they're emotional or psychological. Maybe they're more financial or belief systems. I mean, we all learn lessons a different way. We don't have to be sick in order to have the goal of life being to connect to ourselves, our higher selves, authentic, remembered selves, whatever we want to call it. But and then there are probably people that for whom this is a coast lifetime. If you believe in reincarnation, which
Mhm.
I do because I learned about it when I was 4, and so that was just like indoctrination, and it just always made sense to me. Um, that there are some people that are just like, no, I'm on spiritual holiday, and I am not doing the spiritual work in this go around. Okay, it's okay. Not everybody
Not
has made
everybody.
that choice
Mhm.
to work towards enlightenment in this lifetime.
Well,
That's
that's
okay.
it. Yeah, I always I sit and I say, please, I'm asking. I really don't want to come back again. I think I've learned all my lessons. I think I'm done. But of course, I'm not sure what'll happen, and I won't know. Um, but I have a feeling I probably will come back, but we'll see.
You
You know.
know, embrace the journey because you won't have to remember it all, right? Thankfully,
Mhm.
we don't always remember it all. But yeah, I have a cute little story for you. So when I first learned about reincarnation, my godmother was over. Her name was Virginia, and she was talking with my mom. We were sitting out by the pool. It was a beautiful sunny summer day in upstate New York, and they were talking about reincarnation. And the part that I heard was, well, you get to pick your parents in your next life. And I
Mhm.
was like, great. When I'm a little old lady, I'm gonna pick a really nice couple, young couple that want to have a baby, and I'm gonna bring them all my belongings so that I'll have them when I come back. Like, oh my gosh, I am an eternal pack rat.
It's funny, but we do pick them though.
We do pick them.
Hmm.
We just don't have to give them all our belongings.
No, no. We pick them for them to teach us lessons. What is it we want and what we do not want? So, yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
Yes. And we can love our parents and hold them in such gratitude for being the vehicles through whom we were able to learn these lessons
Hmm.
that enabled us to be the beings that we are, right? I mean, this is how beautiful it is. Um, and to really hold it like just this blessing and this opportunity. Once you get through the forgiveness part of
I
it,
know.
right?
I know. You have to let all that other things go. Yeah, my it's funny because my mother's mother was a healer. And yet both my mother and father never allowed me to do healing on them. And then many times I would take it personal and be hurt by it. And then I realized one day, you know, that's their journey. It's their choice. If they, it's not that they're not accepting of me. It's just that they just don't want to do that. They don't want to, experience the healing. But I couldn't understand because her mom was the healer.
Right. Well, oftentimes, as you said, we learn the things that we want to do and don't want to do from our parents. And so she learned, oh, that's not for me.
Yeah, she didn't want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I also tried very desperately to have them go the integrative and alternative route, but no, they were dead set against the Western. And again, it was their choice. You can't force yourself on anybody if they choose they don't want it.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Ah, I know, boy, we can talk a long time, but I know you're very busy. So, Dr. Kelly, where can my, listeners get a hold of you?
So, as we talked at the beginning, I'm in Costa Mesa, California, where I have a clinic. It's called the Spring Center. So you can find us at thespringcenter.com. and we
Okay.
are accepting new patients. I also have licenses in 11 other states. So if people do not live in California, there may be an opportunity, depending upon where you are, to come see myself or I have several other practitioners who work with me. I have an amazing team of very, very loving beings, who really get it, and they're smart, and yeah, we just what I was describing was the online classroom, but I would say the same for the practice. It's not a conventional practice. You walk in, the front office know your name, they know your dog, you know, they know your
They
kids.
know you.
And yeah, we know each other. We really, really care for each other. And I've never been to a doctor's office that I've heard so much laughter throughout the day. The staff are doing their jobs and they're having such a wonderful time because they enjoy so much being with the patients and being with each other. So I'm very proud of the space that we have created here. I'm very happy with the space that we've created here. It's very special.
Do you also
Um,
do Zoom?
and we do telehealth
Okay.
at this moment in time. With rare exceptions, we ask that people come in to their first appointment, their consult appointment, in person. Um, and then we can do telehealth for the majority of the time if, for example, you're in LA or Texas or Arizona or New York, come in. And then people have to come in generally annually to maintain their membership. It is a membership-based practice. We are a direct care model, and then we have a membership that typically fits any person's budget. Um, and yeah, and you can probably the best thing is to check out the website, and there's a form that you can fill out to inquire about becoming a new patient. And
Okay.
then, as
Mhm.
I also mentioned, I have the Unforgetting Project.
Mhm.
It's yeah, unforgettingproject.com. And we have our foundational program. The second cohort will be starting mid-March, and then I'll be doing more frequent classes after that. And I do what are there will be a membership as well for that group, and what I'm calling Unforgetting Journeys, which is where I sit with people for 3 to 4 hours, and we work through a whole host of things. And those are pretty intense. So for people who are really stuck, who understand the work, and they want to move a whole bunch of stuff, that will be an option too. That's not yet on the website, but be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
I,
Again, one more
I wouldn't
time.
recommend that until after you do the foundational program.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling that. So yeah. What is the website again? One more time.
Unforgettingproject.com.
Okay. Thank you. Oh boy. I'm so happy I found you, believe me.
Me too, Barbara. Me too. Yeah.
Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for being here and, for sharing your wisdom, your compassion, and your expansive view on healing, which is incredible. And this conversation is such a powerful reminder that our bodies are not broken, okay? They are just communicating and guiding us and inviting us to heal on all levels. And again, check out Dr. Kelly's website, and just remember you know, your body is your teacher, your body is your ally, and it wants you to truly heal. So, with that being said, have a beautiful week filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara.